The world has become a more dangerous place than it already was. Unfortunately, a lot of leadership in the world are keen on playing all sorts of little games, and the wider vision is being ignored. It's a sad story as far as the Skripals are concerned. God bless them, God look after them, but the way it has been handled, and now the onward transmission to the US without access by their own country of birth, that is not going to assuage feelings. They asked for proofs, those were not supplied. It is said that those proofs were shown to foreign governments to their satisfaction. Well, foreign governments were shown the weapons of mass destruction that Saddam was meant to have and came together on that call. I think it's good to keep the world with you. Transparency is what is required. That, I'm afraid, is evasive. Remember the Arab Spring? Well, it never really got out of I beg your pardon. It never really got out of where it was born. And unfortunately, it never traveled west. It only came eastward first to Egypt, where it was used against an already falling dictator, and then to Libya, where it was used against the strongman, whereupon Taliban were brought in and used to bring the strongman's opponents to the fore, and a no-zone, no-fly zone by NATO that encouraged that he be brought down by bombing, which is not part of the NATO original script. Well, whatever happened in the United Nations Security Council, we pointed out these facts when there was encouragement of Syria going the same way. And those that were leading people on to revolt against a horrible dictatorship in Syria, undoubtedly, seem to forget what happens if it doesn't work. Well, it didn't work, has it? I had always maintained, and I must say, my friend and colleague from India at that time had also maintained that Syria is a dangerous place. It took 500 years after the crusade to get Syria going somewhat. And while we didn't agree on how it was done, I was interested to hear a member of the British House recently say that had we known what would happen when Saddam Hussein fell, we might have thought twice about going into Iraq. Well, that was manageable. This is not manageable. There were two, the Shias and the Sunnis, easy to play off against each other. Here, there were so many different races, so many different thoughts, so many different religions, so many different people put together in a way that had become very difficult to maintain, and it was held together by force. Well, we have seen that when it started falling apart, ISIS was born. That is not the first and last time something will be born there. There will always be things happening in Syria because it will now take 500 years to put it together again. And I don't think that is what is in mind. Already, Turkey has taken on the Kurds. Already, the NATO forces are feeling the pinch and are bringing in extra force to bear. Already, Russia is on ground there. Already, all the ingredients that can lead to an international war exist in Syria, which will not just last there. In all the places that have been handled weakly over time, when they were thought to be easy prey, these things will multiply. Look how Yemen has gone out of hand. I do not support what is happening anywhere, but it's sad to say that if you can expend 1 million people in Yemen, I wonder what you have already expended in Syria. And It's not going to be good. It's not going to be easy. There should be attempts made to bring together people rather than try and force them into various factions and arm them for it. Now, I think that it's important to put here the fact that this is not going away and it's not about to be ended. And no matter what Trump says, he's not leaving Syria alone for the very, very simple reason that Syria has to be uh, divided into various factions. You know that that is what the original plan was. It didn't work out. That is why at this crucial stage, even Israel seems to be bombing inside Syria. And of course, they have this policy of not to tell. Well, who are the people creating this mischief? They're all over, and there's response in mischievous tones as well. I feel Europe, as usual, is being dragged into it by the name of the West versus the East. A very sad situation. All these years that the West worked to bring about amity, to bring about amicable solution of crises, it's all going out of the window. Don't take in another few million people and embroil them in a world war, because you already have seen the result of the refugee crisis in Europe. You already have seen what all can happen. And let's not play smart. If Novichok was such a dangerous weapon, how come it did not do more harm to the Skripals? I'm glad they're safe, but the question is, let's think about this. We're using all these aspects as punitive measures. Let's be absolutely clear. You cannot defang Russia in this fashion. You will face Russia now. The Iron Curtain has come down again, and I call it the isolation curtain across the Atlantic. So these things do matter. They are happening, cannot be ignored. Let's at least realize that the immense damage to this region is going to be all Muslim to begin with, but it won't hold there. And I feel it's time that people start to realize, stop cutting each other to size in the name of religion. It doesn't really help issues. And it would be a very great thing if we, for example, saw the return of Ethiopian artifacts and religious artifacts to Ethiopia. Why do I bring this in? It's not a red herring. Let forces in this region be the forces. You cannot gut them and claim to represent them. Let everyone have a share of speaking. Let everyone have peace. And those who obliterate the peace, help those countries to strengthen and remove irritants, not bomb them or blast them to the end of the earth, but try and work through peaceful means. This ganging up must stop. We must learn to listen to each other. We must stop threatening. We must stop all these matters that are leading to more acrimony, more hate, more outrage, and it's not stopping right here unless you stop it. And by you, I mean all those countries who are blowing steam, even at the United Nations at the moment. It's good, air your, vent your feelings so we know who is saying what, but at the same time, for God's sake, try and bring people together. I have a letter in which I helped bring about an understanding when things were going out of hand in Syria, when I was on the Security Council. And I remember that moment, and everyone thought well of the fact that Pakistan had played such a constructive role. Well, let's do it again. Let's bring peace to the world. Thank you.